I'm proud of us. Look at us.
Why is it called a countdown when we're counting up?
Just thought the same thing. I was like, this is a count up.
This is like driveways and parking lots all over again.
You park in a driveway, but you drive on a parkway.
That's for Facebook boomers who think they're funny and are smart. We're not any of those things.
Look at little Goblin Jr.
All I have is Sony price hike and Nintendo Switch at Gamescom. What the fuck else has happened?
I thought we already bitched about the price hike. Or is that just something that I
group chat?
I had proposed news in that group chat 7 to 8 days ago. Yeah, Mario Wonder Direct and previews, whatever. Starfield and everyone crying.
Starfield, I guess, review controversy is what it's called. Definitely
I mean,
have takes.
Is it any more of a review controversy than any other game that ever comes out that is like moderately successful?
What's the controversy that people gave it low scores? Like, I don't.
There are just a lot of people who are buying the game. This is sort of the problem I see as a problem, not the problem. A problem with the market today. Brennan sort of suffers from this, and I've never known anyone until the last few years who operates like this, but there's this FOMO of having to experience every title that comes out. It's like somebody who goes and sees every movie that comes out of note. And it's just like...
You call that the Tiger King phenomenon. COVID has ruined our brains, and now we have to experience everything as a society in order to feel things.
It's very bizarre to me. And I rarely have that, and I don't feel the need to play every fucking game that comes out, let alone every $70 title. Even games I want to play. Like, Nick, we were together yesterday, and it was like, oh yeah, I haven't played Star Wars yet. I'm like, yeah, I'll play it. I want to play it. I like the first game, but like, I didn't need to go out and play it day fucking one. Like, I just didn't need to. And so people are like, I have to get Starfield. It was like the Elden Ring thing. Everyone, oh my God, this game's getting 10 out of 10s. I have to get it.
That one has multiplayer. Like, I could literally play that game with my friends who are all playing it at the same time.
Nah, multiplayer shouldn't be a barometer by which we judge whether a game is good.
No, and it's not. I'm just talking about like, there's actual... Like, if my friends are playing a game and I can play that game with them literally, not just like at the same time as them, then that's a higher incentive.
Hey, what part are you in? Oh, I'm in this part. Oh, well, I'm in this part, but we can't talk about those parts yet. But that part that you just did, that was a cool part.
Basically how we played Zelda for fucking 3 months. Yeah. I don't get off on necessarily the idea of this communal experience. Sometimes it can be enhanced by it, but I'm not going to go buy a game, generally speaking, because, I'm missing out on something. And so people felt like, I'm missing out on Starfield. Starfield, I know we haven't even started officially recording. Starfield is just a Bethesda game. It is fucking Fallout in space. It's less Skyrim in space. It's more Fallout in space. If you like Bethesda games, this is just a Bethesda game. It's got all the same. It's got lazy NPCs and no-name characters following you around. And I spent more time decorating my house than I have doing anything else. And I'm like, sick, this is tight. But a lot of people are like, what the fuck is this?
I think people, they get their expectations up because it's been 12 years since they've actually put out a new game.
Yeah.
Like Fallout 4 being just a very iterative sort of sequel to Fallout 3, and then not New Vegas, but 76, the like weird survival game.
That wasn't
it was
even
like barely
Bethesda.
them.
No, yeah.
Like a different studio worked on it. Like they kind of helped with it, but it's like the first new game in a while, and Xbox is just so desperate for a W.
And they got one.
Halo reviewed okay, and people liked it, and it was popular for like a minute, but it just had such a steep drop off that public consensus on that just did a full 180. Everyone just loves to take a fat dump on Halo now. So what else does Microsoft have? They have a niche racing genre game, and that's about it.
I took a dump on Halo before it was cool.
Thank you, Chris. Cutting edge dumper.
My dump was the first dump when they were like, we're releasing this game in 3 parts, but that's perfectly acceptable for some reason.
Like Final Fantasy?
Oh.
Yeah.
What does a series have to do with anything? Imagine comparing
7
that.
remake.
Yeah, we're going to launch the single player campaign. There's no multiplayer and there's no co-op, but we'll add those in later. But that's a release. That's a fully released game.
Launched first.
Well, whatever the fuck order it was, like, it's stupid. It's bad. It's bad for games, and I think it should never happen again.
Anyway, here's Chris with his populist take of Halo being bad. Wow, cutting edge, dude.
I'm with you, Chris. Halo's always been overrated.
I am once again asking for Microsoft to produce a quality finished product.
I think Starfield's a big win for them. I mean, they just outright bought Bethesda, and that, Bethesda makes games people want to play. This is a good game. It's unfortunate for them that it came out in a year that is probably better than any other year in the history of fucking video games.
2 weeks after Baldur's Gate 3 just like blew the doors down.
It's
with RPGs.
Absurd. That's absurd.
And then EA just decides to fire the writer of the original 2 Baldur's Gate games from BioWare.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
EA
Just a awesome rake step. We'd love to see it, folks.
Console Crusade podcast. I don't know what we're talking about. We're going to decide right now. Are we talking news or are we going to do Spider-Man? How is it, Chris? Where are we at?
If, as discussed prior to starting recording, there is that little amount of news to discuss, we're going to get us an episode that does both.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, why not? We can do both. We'll start a little news, then we'll jump into our Spider-Man discussion.
We'll web sling into our Spider-Man discussion, EJ.
Console Crusade podcast. EJ Olson, Nick Durheim.
19 inches of Venom.
All up in you. Chris Gillyford.
I've shot rope all over New York City.
That I believe. I saw 11 shows in 10 days. I got to tell you, the city was not prepared for me. Let's fucking talk some news then. Will you just message us in the chat? Oh yeah, classic tweet from...
I'm not sure if Chris even saw this because he's so unplugged. Now you treat yourself.
19 inches. Treat yourself to 19 inches of Venom.
To be fair, you don't know which appendage they're talking about. You see that man's tongue? Gene Simmons looking ass. Come on now.
Gene wishes.
Dude, Venom got a cow tongue grafted to his fucking... That's what I heard anyway.
That's what I heard.
He fucking removed a bunch of ribs so he could fucking suck his own 19 inches. Chris's students are listening to this.
One of my students was like, oh, this thing that y'all said that was so funny. And I was like, I keep telling people who listen, like, y'all should make she's like, you should put that on a t-shirt. And I'm like, listen, we have like 6 listeners. And I keep pleading for the listeners, if they're amused by something, make stickers, make postcards, like we'll sell them. We will sell them. She asked us if we have a subreddit, and I'm like, bless you for that degree of confidence in this podcast. Also, if someone were to start it, I'm sure that we would become active in it pretty immediately.
Social media is a wily beast. I check every other couple of days to see if we can get our goddamn Twitter name. Console Crusade doesn't exist, yet I'm not able to turn our account into Console Crusade. So
thanks, Elon.
Fucking Elon Musk. Hey, we have a new logo. We're updated. We're all on the logo.
I am here at last. It's a great logo. It's
Official.
Love the carpet tile. God, I love that carpet tile.
You see more of that carpet than any one of us.
That is
also true.
Very, very true. I don't have another flight until I come home for like a month in December. And I am so glad I do not have to see the inside of another airport. I was supposed to be in Buffalo last weekend. Our fucking flight got canceled.
Hallelujah.
Well, it kind of was a blessing in disguise. Like, we got canceled. They rebooked us. That got delayed 2 hours. So we were going to miss our connection. Going to have to be overnight in Boston on our own dime. We're clearly not going to make the wedding on Sunday at this point. So I was like, let's FaceTime Russell and send our love. And then let's get in the car and go home. And instead, I got drunk and watched Oregon Ducks football.
R.I.P. the Pac-12.
The Pac-12. Yeah, I saw. This is great. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but just a fucking banger of a tweet. There's only 2 schools in the Pac-12 left: Oregon State and Washington State. They've literally sued
both winners.
Both winners. They've literally sued the other schools to stop them from trying to take any sort of governance action. On the grounds that y'all have left, you shouldn't have governance action, to keep the basically dissolving the conference, splitting the assets up, which rightfully belong to Oregon State and Washington State. Anyway, everybody's off to the Big Ten pretty much. So the tweet was, this lawsuit is
the Big 17 or whatever.
Well, yeah, but this tweet was, this lawsuit is Tupac versus the Biggie 10, and that pretty much destroyed me. That's the tweet of this whole circus of a realignment.
Yeah, I've seen some Pac-2 shirts circulating on the web.
How's Nat doing with all this?
He was at the game 2 days ago.
That's
for
great.
OSU, so very happy with that, I assume. Yeah, I mean, I only talk to him so sparingly when it comes to this kind of stuff anyway. It's he's so deep into that lane. You would have a better time actually grokking what is happening than I would. But yeah, he's deeply invested and very intrigued into the what is the end result of all this. Because yeah, it gets really weird when it comes to how these schools are making money, how that money gets distributed based on these conferences they're in. It's weird shit.
But the Ducks won, so I had a great time. It was a great game. Really, really good game. Had a good time.
Speaking of sports, shout out to the U.S. men's team for not medaling.
They lost to Canada in the bronze medal game. And then the very next morning, Bleacher Report breaks. LeBron has assembled the Avengers. And for the 2024 Summer Olympics, he's like, I'm coming. I've got Steph. I've got AD. I've got Tatum. I've got Draymond. He's like, this is unacceptable, which to me tells me he's probably got 2 or 3 years left. He's like, I'd like to win Olympic gold one more time before I retire.
Yeah, we'll see.
But and it's been everywhere that he's like, all right, we're coming. We're coming in force. Redeem Team 2.0.
All I give a shit about is when we're getting a Space Jam 3 with a video game tie-in.
Never, because Space Jam 2 was an absolutely awful, terrible, soulless piece of shit movie.
How did it do at the box office, though?
Not great.
The first one was mostly awful and a little bit less soulless, but still.
The first one had the good sense to know to make fun of its protagonist, aka Michael Jordan, and he let them put in just some great jokes at his own expense. And I was waiting for that the whole time of all right, Bron, come on, let's, where's the humor? Where's the beating heart? It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It was a cash grab. It's look at all these properties that Warner Brothers owns. Let's reference them instead of writing good material. It was sad. It was just really sad.
Did you guys ever play the Space Jam video game that came to I think it was PS1 and Saturn?
No.
First of all, I love Space Jam as a kid. That movie is terrible. This game can't be good, right?
By the way, Space Jam: A New Legacy had a box office of 163 million
Woof.
versus the original 250 million back in 95.
How much did it cost to make? Probably 150.
OG was 80 million.
Wow.
New Legacy looks like to be probably a lot more. Yeah, budget of 150 million. So
Whoa.
they barely made their money back.
They took a bath on that.
Yeah, they took a fat bath. It's all that Don Cheadle algae rhythm money.
See, the thing that I don't think people realize in the industry is LeBron James culturally is not Michael Jordan. He never has been. He has been a different, I think, icon culturally. He's such a corny ass. I think people have always sort of either loved to hate him or just disregarded him because he's such a corny fucking dad. He's not putting butts in seats. I don't want to watch him overact and fucking chew the scenery in the worst way possible and a shitty, like you said, soulless remake of something that I remember fondly from the 90s, my youth. Who was starring in Space Jam 3? The video game?
No, the movie based on the video game.
Right.
Hang on, wait. First of all, EJ, I agree with you. I just want to say I agree with you. And I do think that it's no fault of LeBron's. It's no reflection on his character. It's just that Jordan was the first ever global superstar in the NBA. And so, of course, he was going to put more butts in seats. Now there's 1 billion global superstars. You go to China and you see people wearing Kyrie Irving shoes. And who fucking cares about Kyrie Irving? You know what I mean? But everybody knows all these players. So yeah, there's no one person that's going to do that. If it's not LeBron, I don't have a fucking clue who it is then. Could do
okay.
Have it be Ja Morant and it's a gun safety after school special.
Now I'm just thinking of NBA video game spinoffs. We have our Shaq Fu's multiple. Shaq Fu has multiple entries.
Who's the flat Earth guy?
That's Kyrie for sure.
Okay, so then yeah, he gets sucked into the other dimension on the other side of the Earth. Easy.
Okay, National Treasure, starring, who would be really funny from the NBA? Featuring Boban
Marjanovic, yeah.
Did you see his, I don't know if you're a John Wick guy, you said you watch all this. His fucking cameo in the John Wick 3? Was it 3?
He's got a whole fight. Cameo, nothing.
Amazing.
It was great.
Amazing.
I was like, Tiff, that's an NBA player.
It's like that one time Walt Chamberlain fought Bruce Lee or whatever.
Will Chamberlain, or no, who was in Airplane? Is that Kareem?
That was Kareem, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, that is peak sports cameo. Where he's like, no, I don't. Like, I don't look like him. And then he finally,
My dad says you don't work very hard. The hell I do.
see, that's funny.
Because comedies were good back then too.
That's enough basketball. I tried to bring it back to video games, and all I got was a Boban joke off. Pretty mid, We tried.
Call that a brick in the industry.
Yeah, Nick got a good Kyrie joke in, so
All right, Brick. Okay,
it's acceptable.
there have been too many people making Brick references in the last week that I've clearly missed a cultural moment in some capacity. Like, what the fuck's with all the Brick references?
I'm 30, dude. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
I just laid a brick. I mean, you miss a shot, it's a brick. I don't know. That's just what it is.
So that there was no additional context there because I was like, oh, see, Nick just made a reference. Like, Nick knows it. I need to know it.
No, I was just talking about EJ's Boban joke that landed with a thud.
Thanks, man.
It is what it is, okay?
Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. It's been like 3 or 4 times that I've seen references to bricks in a really short time frame, and usually that means I missed something in the zeitgeist.
I've tried one thing and I've run out of ideas.
See, Elon has killed Twitter to the point that like not even the TikTok spill over anymore. So I'm truly well out of the loop now.
Damn.
So we all get old. All right, before we chat Spider-Man, Nintendo Switch. Are we sick of Nintendo Switch rumors yet?
Nope.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
For the past 4 years, I've been just over it.
Feed me, Seymour.
Yeah, the human blood that is Switch 2 rumors.
But we have some real reporting, finally, for the first time. Not just Avi-list fucking Twitter users.
I mean, to be fair, I do believe that there was a Switch Pro in development and that it ended up becoming the Switch OLED because of chip shortages. Like, I fully believe that. It seems totally reasonable.
That seems plausible.
The sources were like pretty tight. So I'm not like saying that there hasn't been a Switch 2 or anything looking like hardware revisions in the past. It's been so long and people have been begging and pleading. And it's what it comes down to is when this thing comes out, everyone who wants to be mad will be mad. Everyone else will be fine. Like, it's just nothing until it actually shows up. And also it's nothing until I see the games running on it. Like, it doesn't matter how capable the system is. Like, it could be as good as a PS5 and an Xbox Series X, and it wouldn't matter until I see a goddamn new Mario on there. You feel?
What a great segue into some of the reporting coming out of Gamescom. That this was putting out not only graphical capabilities that were comparable to the PS5 and Xbox Series X, but in some cases...
It currently is comparable. It's just a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you measure that.
Why you got to throw that in there? You know what I mean. Like, that's... Now I'm way the fuck off the rails here. Anyway, that it was using that the ray tracing was even better.
Yeah, the ray tracing
was even better.
Which is obvious because NVIDIA does better ray tracing than AMD, and the other consoles use AMD, and it doesn't matter because it's probably ray tracing on a 1080p source resolution, which these other consoles have to do anyway. It's just got real DLSS because NVIDIA has that, and AMD has FSR, which is bullshit.
I don't speak fidelity, Pinhead. So for me, hearing these things as a fucking Luddite, I'm like, that's fucking cool.
So for you, it's just like, hey, it's so shiny, and you just have to believe me. And you're like, I love shiny. Please give me the shiny.
Well, they say they're running like a 4K 60 frames per second Breath of the Wild tech demo. And I'm like, that's fucking
I believe
cool.
that they're running 4K output and it's at 60 FPS, and that's cool. Like, that's awesome. I want that to be the case.
No one on Earth, and certainly not you two chuckle fucks, thought that this thing was going to have this kind of power. Like, if anything, we were like, yeah, it'll probably be around a PS4. They'll be fucking behind the times again. And it'll be like, okay,
and
great.
It sounds like that's what this is. It just has better upscaling technology because the chips have gotten better. And you can throw some more tensor cores in there. NVIDIA has that capability.
Somebody's saying it looks like it's on par with PS5. Like, the PS3 looks like it's on par with PS5 half the time. It's just that we know it's not. So I don't think there's anything really of substance here other than like, oh, they showed the Switch 2 and it sounds like a handheld. That's good.
The thing that I gleaned from this is that they are either working with or working toward getting it totally ready for Unreal 5, which means that it's going to be easier for third-party developers to work on the system and that ports will be easier. So, I mean, that's what they did with the Switch. They tried to make it as port-friendly as possible. There were some like standouts as far as developers who really got the chops and like put those miracle ports out, like Doom 2016 and The Witcher and Skyrim and even stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is still going to be port city as far as the back catalog and getting games from PS4 that should have been on Switch anyway, but they just didn't want to put in the effort. But that's like kind of what you're looking for when you get a Nintendo console. But I want to know is what is Nintendo doing with it? Like, I don't really care about the Matrix demo. I didn't care about it when I was on PS5. Why would I care about it now? I don't care about Breath of the Wild running at 60 besides it being like, hey, maybe Nintendo can focus on frame rate on more of their titles. Like they do focus on that for like Mario Odyssey, that was 60. Mario Kart 8 is 60 when you're playing by yourself, but they can't do it with the multiplayer when you're splitting the screen up that way. But sure, I mean, yeah, it's a more powerful console. Like, I don't know what the takeaway of this should be besides, oh, they're getting ready to put it out, so it's in the next probably 12 months, and Unreal stuff. So getting a really popular third-party engine good to go is like a priority for them. And that I say, cool, please make that a priority.
Chris, how do you feel? I know there was speculation on our part, and you were convinced that this was going to be a more akin to a proper home console than a handheld. It sounds like it's just going to be a Switch sequel, which to me, that's the fucking move. Just make a more powerful Switch. But has this changed kind of where your thoughts were on that? Hi, Tiffany. Oh, she's gone.
EJ says hi. No, she's coming back.
Hi, EJ. Hi, Nick.
Hey!
Hi, Tiffany.
I miss you guys.
Hey!
Reporting on that is disputed. Like
Oh,
every
I didn't see that.
other article that I've read with regards to different people who were either in the room or know somebody who was in the room were like, cannot confirm that this is a hybrid console. And some are like, yes, it's a hybrid console. And some say, yeah, it's backwards compatible to the Switch. And some say, I cannot confirm that it's backwards compatible to the Switch. So I don't know. Shrug. I'd still, if it's this strong and it's handheld, that's a big fucking flex. I don't really care. I wanted something that could perform a lot better because I'm sick to death at this point in my life of shoddy performance on Nintendo games specifically. Anything but like Nintendo specifically, because they have more money than God, and there's no reason to not make these games run at 60. So as long as they do that, I am a happy camper. I am a happy camper.
Is there a world where they would make a handheld exclusive again and just forgo the home market? Is there ever a reason to do a handheld that can't output to the TV? Like, I don't...
No, I think the Switch Lite is proof positive of them sticking with either a hybrid or a home console, because the Switch Lite did not do as well as the Switch OLED. So if you're double dipping, you're going to be double dipping upgrading, which is like a kind of new kind of phenomenon for Nintendo, because they've put out stronger versions of consoles, but they've always sold worse than the original version. Like the Game Boy Color sold worse than the Game Boy Advance SP sold worse than the Game Boy Advance, DS, every single iteration they've done has just been like maybe I'll get the second thing eventually, but it's like very front loaded. But with the Switch OLED, that turned into the de facto, like if you're going to get a new Switch, you might as well get the one that costs $50 more because it's got the better screen, it's a little bit bigger, better battery life, all that kind of stuff. But the Switch Lite, it was the cheaper option. You think, obviously the Switch Lite will sell better, but it didn't. So I guess
what are the numbers on
if
that?
I was at Nintendo and I was deciding, hey, what do we do for our future? Do we stick with our current strategy? Do we do a more thorough split like we have in the past? I would say there's not really a market telling us that we want to do a handheld version only, And also I wouldn't want them to, and I don't think I don't know. You can't really predict the future when it comes to Nintendo, but just the way that they have sort of solidified their development processes to be only towards this one specific platform, basically. Like it's not doing Wii U games and 3DS games. It's not doing Wii and DS games. It's not split in that way anymore. And we've reaped the benefits of that. I mean, we still see smaller versions of big games and bigger versions of small games. And that's weird when you see Detective Pikachu and it looks bad, but that was probably a 3DS game for like 5 years. And then they just kind of like sat on it and didn't do anything with it. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we put this out because, I don't know, we got a movie in development. Maybe we'll see if that comes to fruition. But yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense that they just stick with the tried and true with the Switch so far.
Yeah, no going back.
I cannot find Switch Lite dedicated sales numbers. I found a few fiscal year sales numbers, but only for like 22 and 23 so far. It looks like at least 5 million units of the Switch Lite, but I can't find anything definitive.
I'm not, well versed in the life to date sales of the Switch Lite, but just that after getting released, Because they were around the same time, the OLED and the Switch Lite, weren't they? Or was that a year separating
apart,
them?
I
Yeah,
think.
the Lite had
Year apart.
a decent head start.
And we'll see, like, they'll get a little shot in the arm with the new Animal Crossing. Are they bundles or are they just like themed Animal Crossing Switches, the Switch Lites?
Themed with a digital copy.
Themed with a digital, I mean, that's a bundle. So, I mean, that's like, those will sell pretty well. If it's just $200, but it comes with Animal Crossing, that's going to sell well. Mario Kart 8 always sells well with that bundle and the actual. Are they doing the OLED version now instead of just the baseline? I can't even remember. But it's so funny. They're doing their Black Friday, as is tradition of Mario Kart 8 bundled with the Switch and like 3 months of Switch Online or whatever. But it's just the bundle from here until the sequel comes out, the next console. So they're just trying to bump those numbers out, try to get it to like 140. I don't know. What's their end goal as far as lifetime sales of the Switch?
Dude, they want the title, bro. They want the belt.
They're not going to get it if they put out new hardware next year, though.
Well,
Agreed.
late next year, because one date that everybody's been that has come up in a number of the reporting on these things is March 2024. But it seems like that's probably a reveal date.
That's asinine. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's clearly not going to be a release date. Although I know they did it for the Switch, but I think they announce the Switch
Extenuating circumstances with the Wii U.
Correct. The Switch probably gets a moderate price cut to try to fire sale it up to catch the
price cut has been inflation. The tumbling value of the US dollar means that now is the cheapest time to buy a Nintendo Switch.
Thanks, Obama. I have no dog in the fucking race. I don't care if it's the greatest selling console ever. I just want a better version of it and more new games. So
Indeed.
there you go. We already kind of touched on the Starfield quote-unquote review controversy off the cuff. Let's bitch about the Sony price hike here really, really quick. That happened like the day I think we released the pod 2 weeks ago, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it. But
let's.
What in the goddamn? Let me pull up the numbers here.
It's like a full 33 to 35% increase across the board for nothing added. Just yeah, you know what?
This is bullshit.
Gotta tighten the belt.
It is bullshit. And at the current prices, I think the tiered system is a little annoying. It seems a little grubby. Like we're just trying to squeeze as much value as we can out of these schmucks. Because I'm like, you could charge $60 a year, or even raise the base to $80 and make it just a single tier. But their premium tier, like I think it's $120 a year, or was before the increase. Dude, you have access to so many titles, all of Ubisoft's titles, which I know people scoff at, but that's a lot of fucking classic games, a lot of Sony classic games ranging from the PS1 all the way through the PS4. There's tons of stuff. And then their monthly offerings, which are traditionally pretty bad. Unless you like Tiger Woods, then there's something for you. But I think it's probably decent value. The thing that fucking sucks about a price hike like this is they gate their online play behind the base tier, and that going up 33% is absurd because the overwhelming majority of people who are buying video game consoles are not flush with cash. They're average Americans.
I haven't checked. What is the state of the single month offering? I know it's always the best value, to buy it by the year because you spend
Right.
$60 for a year, or you used to, and it was like $10 for a single month, and then for 3 months it was like 25, something like that. It's kind of gets cheaper and cheaper as you bundle it into larger quantities. But I don't know how has that been affected by the price hike. They hid this announcement in a blog post announcing this month's titles.
Hid it.
And they keep
also
the
scummy.
prices. They make it very difficult to see the prices. Because when I was getting set up with my PS5, I was like, all right, what do I want to do? And I had to hunt to find any pricing, to actually find like what is included in each tier. I wanted to look at a games list. And it was like, here's a bunch of titles that are included in one of them, but not specific. And of course, it's intentional that they do this. The thing that chaps my ass more about the base tier going up than anything else is that like the cloud saving, like accessing your cloud saves, uploading online, that is also gated behind online play, which that should be a standard feature. I should not have to pay you to do this thing that is industry standard for like any storage system of like any platform ever. Like That is gross to me. That feels gross to me.
When you're buying a $600 console, yes, playing online and uploading my saves to the cloud should be a part of that bundle. Like, eat it, Sony. Just eat it! Okay? Because your console didn't cost $200, okay? You're not Nintendo. You're not living in the fucking 1990s.
No, but they want to be Apple.
Fuck Apple, dude. Fuck them. Let's talk about the iPhone 15.
Oh,
Send from iPhone.
This has been the Console Crusade podcast. We're talking about the iPhone, so I am officially ending this episode.
Chris, this is the year you upgrade. The 15, it's going to be yours. I see it.
I need to. My phone's terrible. It's bad.
He'll get himself a shiny new 13.
Oh, yeah, that TJ's fizzy.
Give me some spicy water. I literally texted Sarah, I said, give me some spicy water. And she came through in the clutch, as she does, time and time again.
Have you had any sparkling waters that are actually like jalapeno or assorted spicy flavors?
No.
I haven't had any that are just like pure sparkling water. I've had seltzer, like hard seltzer. That's jalapeno. And man, that is weird.
That sounds weird.
Spicy water.
Yeah, spicy water.
Have you heard this new fad where it's like people, they're like, they put like a sniffer on the water. And so it's not flavored water, but the thing on top makes it smell like something.
Or like a Glade plug-in or something.
Basically, I forget what it's called, but like
Putting vape juice or just dropping it on the rim, on the gutter.
the whole idea is that
Your nose is tricking your brain into thinking that you're drinking something that it's not.
right, your olfactory processes are responsible for 90% of what you taste.
Just drink a fucking glass of water. Jesus
That's what I'm saying.
Christ. I don't even get the fizzy water thing. I don't need to incentivize myself to fucking hydrate.
Neither do I. I drink like 3 or 4 fucking 40-ounce bottles of water a day. I don't need help drinking water. I just like to treat myself to something tasty every once in a while, and it beats drinking beer all the time.
That's
cheers,
fair.
mate. Somebody's got to cheers me. Yeah! The timing on that was impeccable. Mm-hmm.
Well, mine is beer, so fuck you, I guess. But
Dude, I got a little saucy 2 nights ago. Saucy for me. I had like 2.5 cocktails over a 5-hour span. But I was definitely like, oh, a little warm in the face. And I just slept so bad. Just so terribly. Like, man, drinking is so fun for like an hour. And then all of the rest of it just fucking sucks, man.
I gotta
God.
drink earlier in the day, like in the morning.
No. Oh, yeah. That'll do it. Then I have a headache the rest of the day as you experience a hangover in real time. There's just no
That's why
winning.
you drink 3 40-ounce containers of water.
Flush it out. Well, that's the Sony price hike.
It sucks. And it's unjustified. They didn't add anything. It's just like, hey,
No, they just
so
want
you
more
know.
money.
And people will pay. The 33% that they increase the price by, they will not see that many people drop off. Like there will be maybe 5% drop off or switch to a lower tier. That's the reality.
Why do a good thing when doing a bad thing makes you more money?
Thank you, capitalism.
Mm-hmm. How frustrating. Okay, we've talked about it. Now we're going to actually talk about it.
oh,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Bring me photos of Spider-Man.
He's a menace! We promised a little game diary on this. Chris finally got you to play it. Nick finally got you to play it for half an hour. One of my favorite games, I mean, really ever. I mean, it's on the top 100 for a reason. It is just so much fun. I wish I had some notes because before we started talking about this, I was like, Chris, this is fresher for you. So you're going to have to run us kind of through an A to Z. And I can just, interject because I haven't played it in 2 years. But I've played it enough times that I have a lot of thoughts about this game. And it is just such a goddamn great adventure. And I'm so excited for the second one that comes out in 5 weeks.
Woo.
4 weeks. 1 month.
4 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up.
I'm happy to track us through this journey as I did just play this for the first time. And I'm pausing for effect here so that you can cut this because I need to go and release the pizza before we settle into this.
Release the pizza.
I'm keeping these in though, so I know what you say about me when I'm not here.
We were joking about it. We were playing Call of Duty earlier, and Brennan made a weird noise, and I joked about him pooping. And one of the guys we play with was like, Brennan, you're not a fucking Discord pooper, are you? And he's like, yeah, but you never hear. And I was like, yeah, he doesn't want us. I was like, he doesn't need us to hear him poop. He just wants to hear us while he poops. He's making us like an unwitting accessory to his kink.
It's like a podcast. Your parasocial relationship with your real friends.
Yeah, I only like hanging out with my friends when I'm on the shitter.
Very passively, yeah.
Taking group poop to the next level.
Nothing helps me unclench quite like hearing my friends make very small talk. So yeah, I'm just looking at, because I know Spider-Man came out in 2018. I was looking at what else came out that year, and it's like, oh man, they really got screwed when it came to awards. Because it was the same year as God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
So it's just a bloodbath between those two. And some like pretty notable indie games, honestly, like Celeste and Into the Breach, Return of the Obra Dinn, Gree, Fortnite, I guess. I mean, it came out in 2017 and it added their Battle Royale that year too, but PUBG was still the new hotness at that point. It was just a different era. Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Marvel Spider-Man 2018. 5 years ago. Man, time flies. Sitting at an 88 top critic average on Open Critic. Obviously, we always bring up Open Critic, and we have the league. Why do we always quote Open Critic and disregard Metacritic unless it's an old game?
Metacritic doesn't have a list of who they deem to be like their critics of. I mean, they do, because you see the critics that they collate from, but they are weighted, and they do not disclose the weights that they give to individual outlets.
Right.
Also, they're owned by the same company that owns IGN, so it gets a little bit weird.
Open Critic,
because it's open and it's equal, and all the top critics are, it's out in the open.
Right, you know who
It's
it
just
is,
math.
and who is feeding into the top critic average. It's not without its flaws, but I think it's a good gauge.
I mean, that's any critic aggregate is like, you're not actually basing your opinions on the quality of this product based on the opinions of 3 to any number of people, but it gives a sort of test bench. It's like a general consensus.
Sure.
Like, this is what most people think. Most people think that it is a high 8, low 9 kind of game.
And the Metacritic score, I guess, is not usually that far off.
Not usually, no. I would like to see like what the highest delta is between games on a Open Critic versus Metacritic. I mean, Open Critic also has only been around since 2016, so they don't go into like the back catalogs of games.
Well,
Was it
I'm back.
2016? 2015?
Welcome back, Chris.
I hated every minute of that, and I will never bring you into the bathroom in my ears again.
This man's trying to watch YouTube shorts, and we're talking about Dookies and Open Critic.
No, the Open Critic was fine. It was the parasocial relationship with your friends and the making us a part of your kink by having us in his ears while he's pooping, and I'm trying to poop and trying to be at peace with what you're saying while I'm pooping, and it was just, I really, really hated it.
How much of this can we leave in, Chris? It's really up to you.
How much did he leave in?
Everybody poops, EJ.
Amen, brother.
We read the book as kids. I did. Everybody poops.
So, Marvel Spider-Man 2018. I've talked about this on the podcast. You going back years. We talked about this. We had Andrew Chavez on. The shout out to the OG Windows Defender. We had multiple conversations about it. Talking about Miles Morales. So this is more, Chris, I think, a platform for you to sort of talk about what you like. And I definitely have opinions. I can only think of one thing that this game really fails at, and everything else either works fine or is spectacular.
I see you.
What are your thoughts? You beat it, and I'm so glad you had a good time with it. I
did.
I was so glad.
I did not ultimately. Well, I can't platinum it because it requires you to do a new game plus for platinum, which I fucking hate when developers will gate the platinum behind a second playthrough. That's dumb. You're not adding anything to my experience by forcing me to play this game a second time. The only way in which it is acceptable to me to gate it behind a second playthrough is like a Resident Evil 2 kind of thing, right? Where there are two protagonists with very different maps and very different experiences in the game that tell one complete story. Make me play that twice for platinum. That is justified in the storytelling. But this game is literally, I'm going to play the same game again with all my shit just so I can get the platinum. I'm like, nope, no thank you. So that's a minor gripe, is that I can't platinum it on one playthrough for no good reason, in my opinion. So I am playing, for context, I owned this on PS4 and never really played it on PS4. So when it came time for us to do this, I dropped the $10 because I have the PS4 disc to buy the remaster. So I was playing the PS5 remaster. Immediately put it into performance mode. I was like, I don't give a shit about the visuals. I don't need ray tracing. Funny in light of our context where I'm like, it has ray tracing with the focus or whatever. But I was like, I want this game to run with no interruptions whatsoever. And boy fucking howdy, did this thing run at 60 frames for my whole 25-hour playthrough with absolutely no drops whatsoever. None that I noticed. If there were any, they had to have been small enough that I wouldn't. And I'm like, this has really changed for me the notion of like what current gen video game consoles are capable of. Because most of my stuff I play on Switch, and everything's at 30 frames on Switch. Almost everything's locked at 30 frames on Switch. So playing this like gorgeous game in a big old sandbox, web slinging around at beautiful 60 frames per second, I was like, oh my God. So broader strokes. It's a third person action adventure game, I think is a fair way to describe it, with some RPG-like elements, specifically, accruing XP to level up, which gives you skill points you can use to get different buffs and abilities and combo mechanics. You can upgrade different types of devices and suit abilities. Like there's all kinds of customization in the way that you can find that you like to really play the game. I'm a lunkhead when it comes to anything that involves third-person action, so I want stuff that makes it as easy as possible for me to cheese combat. So I'm running around with like electrified gloves all the time. Like that was my special. Pretty much the whole fucking game is like, give me the electrified gloves so that I can just stun lock an entire group of enemies, beat them to death, and move on with my life. I think that stuff this game does really well. It is a joy to run around the city. Web slinging has like never felt better. Like flip it up into the air, diving straight down towards the ground and catching a web swing just before you hit the ground so that you can get an extra speed boost and all the blur effects like kick into place. You really feel like you're like swinging around New York City, to the point that like, you know me, I'm a go do all the things guy. So I didn't get fast travel until like 7 hours or 8 hours into my playthrough, which is really late because I was just swinging around the city and it's just what you do. Like I was like, oh, it bugs me you don't have fast travel, but it's so much fun to swing around the city. I thought it was intentional that they're like, no, go swing around the city. It's cool. And you get around really fast. Especially with some of the later traversal mechanics after you unlock different skills of being able to like leap from your point jumping. So you could just, hit both of the trigger buttons, zip over to something, tap X at the exact moment, and just like fling into the air and just do that.
Launch, dude.
Just launch. So getting around New York City just feels amazing. It feels amazing running around the city as Spidey. There's definitely some jank when you're moving between I am swinging and I am scaling a building. There's a fair amount of jank.
It can be.
In trying to switch between, okay, I want to be on this building and now I want to run up. No, I want to run up. I want to run up. I don't want to run to the side. I want to run up. It will not let you change at all, which is one of my bigger gripes about this game, is that I wanted it to be easier to just go like, I'm on this surface now. Let me move how I want to move on this surface, please. But that was minor because most of the time you could just like hit L2, R2 and zip up to the top, or press X and flip off of the upper ledge and go up higher. The combat is amazing. It is amazing.
So
good. It is spectacular. It is ultimate. It is every Spider-Man reference I can slip in here.
So the combat at its core, there are gadgets which play a big role in the combat and kind of let you customize how you like to interact with enemies. But the core combat in this game is taking on waves of enemies and mid-air combat. There's a huge stealth component, and you can really choose how you want to do almost every interaction in this game, whether you're going to stealth take down an entire bunker full of bad guys, or if you're going to go in and just fight waves after waves and just spam mid-air combos. The skill tree, and I know, Nick, you played this game a little bit, so we'll get to your thoughts in a second, but historically you've been very like anti-skill tree in games like this. You're like, why does God of War need this many options? And I think that developers could definitely overdo it at times, but it's sort of that Zelda philosophy we talked about of like, you're not supposed to do it all. It's giving you options and you can do it or ignore it. My little brother played this game for the first time. This is 2018, so he's 9, and he's just punching dudes. Like, he doesn't know how to do any of the combos. He doesn't know any of the gadget work. He's just flying around punching dudes, and he's having a blast. Meanwhile, I am min-maxing every little aspect of this. I'm like, I want to have like as much what's the meter called, the special meter you get for like perfect dodging, and like I want to max that meter all the way out. I want to have as many options as I can so I can just like spam combos, build that meter, and just do ultimate finishing moves over and over and over. I think it is just a blast. I never got bored fighting waves of enemy in that game because there are just so many options, and it never felt overwhelming. At least for me, it never felt overwhelming of like, oh my God, there's too many gadgets to choose from and I can't remember which one does which. I just always had something new to do in an engagement, and that's what I absolutely love.
Yeah, I think a couple things in there definitely like worth responding to. I agree with you in terms of the choose your own adventure with regards to combat. That I think that I was already starting to get overwhelmed with controls in the first like hour and a half, where I was like, this is too, and this is a fair gripe. I think a lot of the different names of things are way too fucking similar. Or it's like, well, I thought that was a web throw. Oh no, that was a web launch, but I need to do a web throw. And I'm like, well, what's a web throw?
Right.
And then I'm futzing through menus looking for what's the web throw combo. Okay, got it. But ultimately I was like, you know what? This game just wants me to play the way I like to play. It wants me to fight in whatever way that I want to fight. So I'm like, great. I am going to get in the air and I'm going to stay in the air. And I am going to just stay in motion as much as I possibly can. Which it definitely allows you to do. I think that at most, if I'm going just from like a standard jump and then yanking an enemy into the air with the web shooter, I could do 3 consecutive guys as long as I didn't get shot at, which was cool. And then using like web attacks to zip across the arena to somebody else who's like got the biggest gun, like the rocket launcher guy, right? Knocking him into the air and taking him out so I don't have to dodge rockets anymore. Trying to take out all the gunners first and dealing with the melee people later because I can just like yank them straight up and not have to worry about getting shot. I love that. And I was like, okay, great. I know how I like to fight. I'm going to fight that way. If I get overwhelmed, I'll pop my super ability and I'll just electrify a bitch and that'll be that. It was good. It was good. The skill trees in this game are stupid and did not need to exist. And I was kind of disappointed at some of the stuff that they artificially made the game more difficult by gating some of these things behind skill trees, specifically disarming enemies. There's absolutely no good reason that motherfucking Spider-Man needs to use a skill unlock to be able to use his web shooters on his wrist to take guns out of the hands of enemy thugs. Like that to me is just brain dead. And that in that way, the game kind of fell down for me. Then I'm like, I need like 40 EXP. That's an exaggeration because you only get 1 per level. I need like 16 skill points to get all the way down to where I can pull a machine gun out of somebody's hand. What? Like that, again, just felt like a way for them to artificially create a difficulty curve instead of encouraging you to be better at the game. And this is something that I was just listening back to your the Birthday Crusade Nick cast when Tiffany and I were on the road the other day. And Nick, you were talking about the difference in something like a Hollow Knight, where the main way you progress through the game is by getting better at the game. Not that you play it longer and get more skills. And that's been rattling around for me while I've been thinking about Spider-Man. Because that is the way you get better at Spider-Man, is you play Spider-Man more, you get skill points, and then you can do things like pull guns out of enemies' hands, which you should have been able to do the entire time, instead of challenging you with the introduction of, when they kind of do this, of more varied enemy types through the course of the game, guys that hit harder, that are more difficult to take down. Instead, you kind of get the same types of enemies in a number of different groups. And when you've got the skills for it, you can disarm them, you can throw rockets back at them, you can pull their shields out of their hands, you can do a lot of different stuff, but you literally just have to play longer and then you can do that. So the skill tree did not do anything for me. It felt kind of unnecessary. Kind of ditto the gadgets, like they're fun, but I would forget they were there most of the time because I had to open a stupid spinning wheel to like select one of them. And it was really finicky in terms of which direction the thing was going. I struggled a lot with like pulling the menu up and trying to tab over to one, and it didn't select it because I didn't press it far enough, or it didn't register it correctly, which was really annoying. And I really only ever used them if I just felt like I was screwed and I was out of focus and couldn't heal.
I hate twin stick quick menus, man. They never work the way I want them to.
No, I didn't. No, I totally agree, Nick. And so I would just spam them when I was about to die. That's like my whole engagement with gadgets, other than, I want to get this extra crime token so that I can unlock that last suit that I wanted.
There's nothing more satisfying than like concussive blasting a giant group of enemies back and then using the suspension matrix to fly them all and hold them in the air. And then you electric web on one dude and they're all just like Palpatine in the fucking air being electrocuted. It is just boom, boom, boom.
If it was that fast, because it's not, because you'd go boom, menu, tab, boom, menu, tab, boom. Like, it's not that fast. I wish it was that fast.
I fucking hate futzing through menus in the middle of combat. We've established this. It has room for improvement. I agree.
Menus are much better when you have to hold 3 buttons at the same time to magically stumble ass backwards into the right thing.
Oh, dude. And some of these specific commands, like, I don't know, like there's just too many multi-button things they ask you to do that even late in the game, when I'm already like 2 prestige levels beyond 50 and I'm doing like mop up before I go finish the game, I would push like L1 and R1 instead of L2 and R2 to do trying to do a point launch. It's just too many multi-button combos.
We don't have the neuroplasticity for all of these buttons. Now give me 4 more on the back, baby. Now we figure it out. I mean, Zelda was probably the most dense, fucking obnoxious control scheme.
That was not without flaws.
But we figured it out. You know? Nick, how long did you play this game for? You gave it you gave it a try.
I gave it a try. It's not like I was going to put myself through misery to try and like put a sizable chunk into it. I put as much time as I deemed to get to the point of what the game is. I played about 20 to 30 minutes, which obviously that's not a lot, but I think you see what the game is in that 20 to 30 minutes. It's like, oh, we're swinging around and then we're fighting dudes and then we're swinging around to go somewhere else to fight other dudes. Like, that's the game. And I get that because that's what a lot of games is, like, running around and fighting. So I think I got a fair shake. I got the bread and butter, and the bread was dry and the butter was unwieldy. I did not appreciate the Western AAA sort of treatment of brawler combat. That's just not what I'm into. I'm not into the magnet hands. I'm not into pressing buttons and not feeling like the buttons I'm pushing really influences the attacks that I'm doing. It's all context based. So it's like, if someone's in the air, your buttons do different things. And it's like, I can't control if they're in the air because I'm just pressing buttons. I don't know what these buttons are doing. It's not introduced in a very fluid way. And I don't feel like the targeting system works very well for a large group of enemies, which is what this game is. It's all large groups of enemies. It's basically a Muso, but with like less cool like combat. Like, it's less cool than a Warriors game is what I'm saying. That's the way it felt like to me. It's just like, oh, I'm Spider-Man. I'm surrounded by these dudes and I just have to mash the square button to punch the closest guy and then occasionally press the dodge button because they're pointing a gun at me. And I can't, remove the gun from their hands with my web swinging skills. It's just beyond me. I have to spend 16 skill points to get to that point in my career as a Spider-Man. So I did a fight. I swung somewhere else, did another fight. The second fight was worse, so I just like, you know what? Maybe if I can like bump it down to like baby mode easy, I can just sort of like mind turn off, go through this game. So I bumped it down to easy. I swung somewhere else. I was fighting some other guy. I kept punching a trash can or something. I was like, I'm not gonna deal with this for more than what I've already done. So I turned it off and started playing Titanfall 2, and I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good game.
Titanfall 2 does fuck. We're going to talk about that in the future. That game does fuck.
It's a cool game.
It's fun.
I feel like you gave up really fast, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I get that, like, you
the man
bounce-
knows what he likes.
I've tried other versions of this same combat. I've tried Batman games. I've tried the Shadow Mordor games. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's just not for me.
Okay, that's just not the way that you're talking about it right now. Like, you're talking about it like it's an inherent issue, and I'm like, I didn't have that problem. And like, if it's preference, it's preference. But like,
It's not. Yeah, I know. It's just an inherent problem for me. Like, I just don't want to do that.
I get it.
I will say that again, in the first like probably like 90 minutes to 2 hours, it's like a little bit longer than you ended up playing. I think you're probably selling yourself a little short on 30 minutes. You probably spent like an hour. Like, no, you're like, no, it was a hard 30.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's what? Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't fight Kingpin. I didn't get that far.
Oh, then you actually probably played for 30 minutes. Okay, yeah. Because that is the tutorial is fighting Kingpin.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, okay, I got to listen to Yuri and Yuri talk to each other. And it's like, what the fuck ever. And then they're like, oh, you can do some stealth. I'm like, hell no.
I want to talk about the stealth in a minute, but yeah, after the first like 90 minutes to 2 hours, and I really got the sense of like, okay, I get what you want me to do. Like, it's way easier than I initially thought it was going to be to navigate the arena, to target the person that I wanted to target. I found that as long as I was looking in the direction that I needed to be looking, I was always going to go towards the enemy that I wanted to go towards. Is it the most wieldy thing on earth? Not at all. And I don't blame you for bouncing off, because the first time I tried to play this, I did the Kingpin tutorial and I stopped. I never played it again. Granted, I was pretty busy. This was during grad school. But I was like, no, like, I don't want to do this. The stealth in this game makes me, except for the forced like Miles and Mary Jane stealth sections, which were like annoying if very easy to do.
So annoying.
Spider-Man's stealth in this game gives me hope for like stealth games more broadly, that they don't all have to be plodding, slow, mechanical, uninteresting affairs. Where if a single thing goes wrong, you're just fucked and you have to like immediately start improvising. God, it was so satisfying to get into a section where it's like, let me take these guys down without fighting openly if I can, or even doing the Taskmaster stealth challenges and trying to figure out how fast can I clear this group of enemies. It's thrilling to me to like, zip, 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 point dodge, 3 different places, wrap this guy up, tie him to a pole, zip, zip, take down, doing them in the correct order so that they wouldn't see me, so I could clear that whole rooftop, and just like working your way down towards the ground level till you get to those last couple guys and you can like big web both of them into the wall and just be like, boom, done. Like, not detected whatsoever. It was fun. Like, fast stealth. That's cool. Like, I'd never experienced something like that before.
The thing that I really appreciate about the stealth system in this game is that the UI is very legible and easy to understand. You know when an enemy is looking at you. You know when an enemy is available to either knock them out or zip them up in a web. It's very quick. Things are, it's happening so fast. You never once are like, oh shit, the purple button flashed and I was going to tie him up on the rope, but then it quickly changed and I got spotted by another guy. It's just, the system works really well and it's easy to understand as you're going. And like you said, moving as quick as you are and making decisions on the fly. I can't remember another game where both options, as far as combat versus stealth, were both so fun and engaging that it really was on a whim. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this enemy base? Like, I didn't know until I got there. And some days or, some moments I'm feeling like, man, a prolonged fight just sounds kind of boring. Sometimes I think, doing some stealth sounds really tedious right now. It just, what mood am I in? And it engages you every time. So I'm sad, Nick, that you didn't get to experience the stealth. But again, I know, different strokes.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
My experience with stealth pretty much starts and stops with Assassin's Creed And that is like forced follow missions where you're just like laying in bushes and like walking slowly up to someone and pressing square or whatever. Like, you know, it's not exactly the cream of the crop, despite being something that franchise is like touted for. You know what I mean? It's not exactly the most engaging thing on the planet. And there's nothing worse than forced stealth missions, which Spider-Man does have, and they're fucking annoying. But anyway, the combat, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I think it does what it wants to do very well. And then Miles Morales takes it to a new level just because of the kind of powers he has and some of the area of effect stuff, which I think I was like, this is just a match made in heaven here. I don't want to look at the future too far. Like, what will Spider-Man 2 do? You know, the sequel issue of like, all right, are we going to get Metroided, or are we going to start with all of our powers and you're going to have to just introduce a bunch of new stuff to make us feel like we're still progressing at the same rate that we did before? I don't know how they're going to solve that.
Right, especially since it's Black Suit Spider-Man and you're like switching between him and Miles. Very different.
Freely,
eke out.
so they say.
Yeah.
In open world sections. Yeah, that's a really good question. They're obviously going to have separate skill trees, which... but whatever. And I would hope that Black Suit Metroids us so that we are starting fresh and learning it again, as opposed to, hey, remember those things? Now they're all a little bit different and you have to figure that out on the fly. Like, I'd much rather just go to ground zero and learn it again.
Dude, the symbiote powers are going to be fucking tight. They're going to be very cool. I'm really excited for it.
I'm hoping
they've already showcased a little bit of the combat like additions, right? In those first couple trailers.
Well, you like see Spider-Man doing new things, but like you don't have any context for how it's happening.
Right, but it gets the mind a wondering, I would assume.
Right. Yeah, I mean he's definitely doing things that you could not do before. So yeah, no, I think it's gonna be cool. We're obviously gonna talk about the story of this game, like, but I figured we'd go through some of the, you know,
the number 4 most important thing.
Honestly, like their narrative is obviously crucial to this experience, but like you're doing so many other things that it takes a backseat a lot of the time. Like Chris, you said, you spent like 8 or 9 hours just for like, I'm going to go do all the crimes and I'm going to do all the backpacks. I'm going to collect all these awesome things that keep me engaged with the world, that you were not really focusing on the story that much. And that's fine, you know, because there's so much to do.
And the story did continue to draw me forward though, in a way that I wouldn't have devoured this so quickly if it wasn't as good as it was. But there are a lot of things to go do. Yeah, that you're like Peter's old backpacks that he's like webbed around the city. You get all these pieces of ephemera.
I love the backpacks, dude.
Of course you do, because that's all the shit that you keep in your desk drawer for 25 years. And then you're like, look at this ticket stub from this movie that we saw in 7th grade. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Everything you find in a backpack is like Leo meme, where you're like, oh, I know this from this series or that book or this cartoon or whatever, but it's always got their little twist on it, and it's always a little bit fresh, and so you have the excitement of discovery in this world, but you're also being rewarded for knowing the lore of this character and this franchise. Yeah, so I did all the backpack and the photo stuff like right off the rip.
Yeah, that was me to a sick degree though, where it was like, oh, I can do the towers to clear Fog of War, and then I can do backpacks, and I can also do crimes, and I can also do... Well, no, I think that's all you can do at first. I was like, great, I'm going to do all of them. I just went borough by borough, part of the city by part of the city, doing everything that was available. And then it's like, oh, I could do Harry's research stations now. Sweep through, do every research station. Oh, now I could do the photo op. Sweep through, do every photo op. And as new stuff got introduced, bases, that's the other one, the Fisk bases. I would just go and do them. And it kept it from becoming too overwhelming. Like, God, I can't even imagine like letting 3 or 4 of those pile up, and then you've got like 20 icons in every part of the city. Like, that would be insanity for me. But yeah, I could go do like 15 research stations and then like map my way through the city so that my last one is right next to the mission marker. This is before I got fast travel. Well, after I got fast travel, forget about it. And I know I mentioned this on an earlier pod, but oh my God, loading screens are gone. I can't believe it even still that I can just click something on the map and then I go to black and it just comes right back up and I'm just there. I was like, this is magic. This is like sorcery. Like this This is right after I also just went back and listened to the last 30 minutes of the Tears of the Kingdom pod so I could hear the live, because I still had not heard any of the shit that you guys had said while I was playing the end of Zelda, and all of your ridicule about my lack of combat ability was well deserved, let me just say.
Nick was disappointed. Okay.
Again,
skill issue.
Yep, wholeheartedly. Give me.
For a man who boasted his ability to just take down Lionels with the greatest of ease, you were just face tanking Ganon like a champ.
After getting 40 hearts and maxed armor and a Master Sword fused with something, I don't have to use skill anymore. I can face tank him. Yeah, anyway. Where's I going with this? Loading screens. Yeah, and that like 25-second loading screen where you all wondered privately to yourself, did his Switch just freeze? I had thought the same shit. You don't have that on a PS5. You do not have that in Spider-Man, not the remaster. Like, you are just there. That is like the promise of current gen tech to me. I
know this is the console Crusade podcast, but that's been the dream of PC owners for like 2 decades now.
That's fine.
That's our life.
That's still not my steez.
I get it.
And I wonder why. I wonder why that is. I don't know. The thought of like sitting at a computer to play video games is just still so strange
Chris,
to me.
My computer is hooked up to my 48-inch OLED TV here, and I play it with an Xbox One Elite controller. I just play it at extremely high fidelity and at very high frame rates. Otherwise, it's just a console. A very expensive console.
Well, I was going to say, like, a really expensive, and like, I mean, you know that I hemmed and hawed for literal years until I finally pulled the trigger on a PS5. And even then, Tiffany was kind of like, are you sure now is the time to do that? Like, I thought you were going to do it when you were making double money up in Alaska. And I'm like, well, you know, like now is fine. But we were still like, I don't know if I can afford to do this. And so to do like $1,200, I think is a fair estimate, like on the low end to build a gaming PC. I don't know when I'll have that amount of money at one time again. I am envious of those who have been able to construct it over time. But even then, I just feel like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to replace components and get more memory. And I don't know how computers work. Like, but I know that the shit you buy is not going to last forever. And even like, you know, Todd Howard people are like, why didn't you optimize Starfield for PC? And he's like, I did. You need to upgrade your PC. And I'm like, great, I'll go fuck myself, I guess. Like, super.
Yeah, there's a high barrier of entry, so I don't begrudge anybody. I was actually just talking to some guys today about that. We have a friend who, like, laments not being able to play on PC, but I said, listen, if you don't have the patience or the literacy to, like, troubleshoot things, you know, like, for example, I've got 3 monitors hooked up. When the third one is hooked up, my VSync just doesn't work on any of my monitors. Why is that? No clue. Got to figure that one out on my
HDMI.
own. Right. You're not going to fucking Google that one away. Like, so if you're just a guy who wants to just sit down, plug in and play, yeah, the sacrifice is you're going to get the worst version of the game, generally speaking, not always. And that is fine, you know? So,
and you're going to pay $80 a year for multiplayer. Right.
No PC Master Race over here. I am a huge PC advocate, but
I don't play multiplayer, so
problem solved.
Problem is solved.
Free cloud saves on Steam.
That's fair. I do some stuff on Steam, stuff that I can't get on a console. But that list is short of games that I'm like, oh, I have to play this on Steam. And it was literally
stuff that will run on a MacBook.
Yeah, the downside of that being my graphics card costs twice as much as Chris's PS5. So, you know, it comes with its downsides.
Cheap spender over here.
You don't have 3 of them, you fucking plebe.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this to say, you're making my point for me, and I appreciate it.
I got you, boo.
So other things about this game.
Can you talk to me about puzzles? Give me your take on puzzles.
I mean, one of them is Pipe Dream, which I'm always down to do some Pipe Dream. I did not set it to auto puzzle. I wanted to do the Pipe Dream. The little like sequencing puzzle where you have to get the bars to overlap to make the right thickness and like subtract ones. I was kind of like pretty ambivalent about that one. But I like some Pipe Dream. I like some Pipe Dream. It's a good ass game. No offense. That's a great game.
No offense. It's fun the first 12 times. It gets old pretty quick.
I would argue that they did quite a lot with them that I didn't expect, like giving me some like branched tracks of electricity and going like, oh, wait, hang on. Like I have to just like send some stuff to not have an endpoint, and like only one of them has to get to an endpoint, and like that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. It's pipe dream. I want to talk about the story. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't care if it's number 4. We already talked about all the other shit. The story's fucking great. I'm like relatively well steeped in Spidey lore. I have said and maintained that he has easily the best rogues gallery of any Marvel superhero by a country mile. And they use them in this game so well and in really unexpected and interesting ways. I knew that Otto is not destined for a good fate from the second that I'm like, oh shit, I'm working for Otto Octavius. Like, is he already broken bad? Is he gonna break bad? And knowing that like it's inevitable. It is a canon event that Otto Octavius is going to become Dr. Octopus. However, I still found myself like rooting for it not to happen and pulling for him and wanting Peter to get through to him. And they just do such a good job of mapping that descent down so that when you arrive at the end of the game, spoilers for Spider-Man 2018, and Otto's like, you're such a disappointment, Peter. And he outs himself as knowing exactly who you were the entire time. And
of course he did, because he's a super genius.
Exactly. But they don't ever make that apparent until it gets to that point, and then we get to see Pete snap and go off. I was like, oh my God, like this is a hell of a final boss fight. Like this is really fucking cool. And oh God, to say nothing of like the horizontal fight on the side of the building. I was like, what a cool and interesting, like what can we do with Spider-Man set piece of like, well, he could grab on with his arms and he could just stick with his feet. So let's do a horizontal fight. That was great. Norman Osborn as the mayor of New York City, too good. So incredibly obvious in hindsight, but great. Very Lex Luthor of them. There was a run where Lex was the president of the United States for a while, and Superman just had to kind of fucking deal with that. Like his arch enemy being the fucking president, and like that was always really intriguing to me. So this feels like an extension of that. And Mr. Negative, who I'm not like epically familiar with, but bringing all roads back to Norman Osborn and giving us a like little peeks at these other villains, like fucking like Shocker. Oh my God, what a fucking dipshit. Like loved those little encounters with that moron. And then I really thought they really set me up to feel like, okay, Martin Lee is our antagonist, it's Mr. Negative. And I bag him and I feel so unsatisfied. And I'm like, I'm at 70% completion. What the fuck is going on? And then we work our way into the Sinister Six with this awesome tandem boss fights and having to deal with like Scorpion and Rhino at the same time and pulling stuff down, pulling shipping containers down on Rhino to stun him so I can hit him while I'm dodging Scorpion's acid blast. And the whole sequence where Peter's basically just like tripping balls and imagining that New York City is covered in a sea of acid and like having all these crazy hallucinations. I was like, man, this is cool.
Dude, the thing that I really appreciate about what this game did is that I was always worried, like, man, they're throwing a lot at it. We had the Sinister Six and Mr. Negative, and obviously Otto's going to turn at some point. And I mean, we start with Kingpin, obviously, but I was just like, dude, there's so much. It feels like, are they going to just way overdo it? But the game does a really good job of making you feel like you really are living the life of this guy turned superhero. Like the way Shocker is introduced, it's just another night in Peter's life. It doesn't feel like, all right, we're setting up this big reveal and here he is. It's just, you really feel like you're living this large chunk of time.
Yeah, and he's like, Shocker got out again. He's like, I got him. Where is he? It's just a fucking Thursday for this guy.
It just feels very organic the way people are introduced, and it never feels like, oh man, we're really stuffing the stocking here.
Stuffing the stocking? That's great.
It all works, it all works. The set pieces are a lot of fun in this game. You mentioned the Scorpion one. That was a total trip. Dude, Vulture.
Oh, Electro and Vulture. That's a tough fight. That's a fun fight.
It almost was like, how many more characters do we have? Obviously, there's a lot more characters we're going to get
we got Venom, we've got Craven. I did never play the DLC. I understand that Hammerhead and Black Cat are in that.
Yeah, DLC was a mixed bag. The first one was really awesome. I thought they were setting up some really cool stuff with Black Cat, and then it just kind of goes away until the very, very, very end of the last DLC pack. And so it was, a lot of promise and not a lot of up to potential.
Yeah.
But
I'll skip it then. It's probably, again, like this is a really lived in Peter. This is a Peter who is an adult. This is a Peter who's been doing this for a while. It's a Peter who's dealing with some shit in his own life, trying to reconcile with Mary Jane, trying to balance his obligations to his family.
typical Spidey stuff.
Typical Spidey stuff, but he knows these people. He knows these villains, and they do a great job of pushing Peter to his breaking point and also really clearly visualizing that for us through the course of the game in the constant deterioration of New York City until by the time you get to the last couple of missions, it is a literal war zone. There are escaped criminals from Rikers Island just shooting at you on every building top. The Silver Sable forces attack you on sight. There's like checkpoints all over the place. There's fires. Like literally the city is falling apart as Peter too is falling apart and trying to hold it together. Is it a little on the nose? Sure. But I love a good visual metaphor. And I think that they did a nice job with it. And it makes me so interested for the way they're going to do it again in part 2, especially with the absence of, spoilers for Spider-Man 2018, Aunt May, who fucking buys the farm at the end of that game, which ripped my fucking heart out. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're not going to do that. And then he's got the vaccine in his hand and he's like, yeah, she's going to die. And he's like, how soon can you replicate this? He's like, 24 hours, maybe. And he's still, and this is what I love about it, is it wasn't like yeah, you're right. Let me go hold Aunt May's hand while she dies. It was give me a minute. And him walking over to the IV and preparing to insert it into the IV and let New York City die for the sake of his aunt before he finally comes to his better judgment, but then still is just so fucking torn up about it. He's like, this isn't fair. And then for Aunt May to be like, yeah, I know you're Peter. Like, it's been obvious to everyone but you that we know that you are Spider-Man.
Right.
Heartbreaking.
The mantra of when Spider-Man wins, Peter loses. And it's just that running theme. God, it's brutal. And they set you up. They set you up like the game is over. You're going to get your happy ending. Of course, Aunt May is not going to die. Like, obviously, that's not going to happen. This is such a bait and switch. I went into that whole thing knowing that, like, no, they're going to fucking split the vaccine up. They're going to figure it out. Aunt May's not going to die. And then they fucking do it to you. You're like, whoa. That's not how this works, assholes. And they fucking get you. And it is beautiful and it is heart-wrenching. Much less so with Peter's new face. Still salty about that. I guess you got to experience, you never got to experience the OG face, really.
The better face.
The much better face.
He looked a little young. I didn't.
No, the OG is worse, is what I'm saying.
The OG is worse? No.
Yeah, he looks like a 45-year-old man.
No,
Right.
he looks creepy.
He looks like Yuri Lowenthal.
He looks like no, he doesn't. Come on.
Spider-Man 2018 original face.
The pictures aren't going to do it justice. The mocap was so much worse on the new face. And the fact that they were just trying to make him look like a fucking hot young stud, like Tom Holland, if Tom Holland didn't look like a 12-year-old, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just really fucking annoying. And
He looks like James Franco.
wait, Spider-Man.
He's kind of got the hairline of a Franco.
He really does. Yeah, I mean, I get why they did it because they want to sell more movie tickets and they want it to look a little bit more like Holland's going to look because he's going to be around for a minute with these, continued licensing sharing agreements. But I like that he's an adult. I would have liked for him to look a little bit more like an adult.
Well, he's only 23. So he's been Spider-Man for 7 years.
Barely an adult.
He's a fucking kid still. What's the time gap on this? This is only probably a year on this second game?
I think it's like real time, like 5 years. Like since game release to like now. I think
No
that's what
way.
I think so.
No, not
Miles
real
is
time.
still a kid.
Not real time, but is Spider-Man 2 going to be 5 years in game after Spider-Man 1, or is it going to pick up fairly soon after the events of Spider-Man 1?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I think it's like a 5-year gap.
Oh, that's
Like,
crazy.
There's been other games that have done similar things where it's like, yeah, it's been as long as the last game came out as to these time periods as well.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Brian Innerhar clears up some confusion about that. 10 months after the events of Miles Morales, which was about a year after the first game. So this takes place in 2021. Okay. Dude, a 5-year gap is so massive. So much. What happens to Miles is like a 14-year-old kid when he gets his powers. Oh my gosh, you guys scared the shit out of me. Oh, my character development happened off screen.
Given the end of the game where it's like symbiote has Harry, it would be weird to me that we just jump 5 years and Peter's like, oh, Harry, where the fuck have you been for 5.75 years?
Yeah, for over a quarter of my life. What the fuck?
I don't know. Just say, oh yeah, nothing's really happened in the past few years. You do the same thing with 10 months or a year. I mean, a lot happened. How much time passes between the beginning of Spider-Man and the end of Spider-Man?
Like a week, maybe.
Is it that short?
That's a busy week.
It's a
Yeah,
very
I know.
busy week.
Like the first like third of that game is a day. Lord Peter's like, God, I haven't slept in like a day and a half. I'm like, whoa, yeah, it hasn't been that much chronological time yet.
Yeah, so isn't like Miles Morales like a Christmas time?
About a month and a half is
vibe?
what took place. Yeah, but
So is it a full year after then?
I think it was a full year after because Miles goes from just discovering his powers to like being fucking Spider-Man. So I think it's a year after, a little over a year. Anyway, not relevant. Chris, any other story beats that stick out to you that you want to touch on?
I enjoyed the will they, won't they nature of Peter and MJ's relationship. I liked the nature of like they have this working relationship that Peter misconstrues because he's a dork, and of course he does. But does he misconstrue it? But MJ seems to think he does. I liked it makes perfect sense to me as like this, MJ being this like strong, independent career woman to get a little bit of a complex about like being saved by Peter time and time again, especially when their relationship is on the outs. So that made like perfect sense to me that she would react the way that she did. And I feel like some folks have been like, why would you like, this is totally unrealistic that she'd respond like that. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
They're children.
Yeah, their brains aren't finished developing yet. Yeah, they're literally like hormonal messes with superpowers. The Martin Lee as sort of the tragic figure, you know, as you learn about his childhood after being introduced to him as like, I mean, he's running Feast or whatever, this outreach program, like he's saving people, he's taking care of people, and you start to unearth more about his past and the experiments that were done on him and how, you know, the death of his family. And you're like, God damn, like you're kind of like, yeah, I get why you're doing this, man.
Yep.
He's just gone too far and he's fucking lost it. And obviously in the middle of that game, we get the origin of sort of Miles in his background where you meet his dad, the cop, early on. And it turns out that it's Miles Morales' dad and he gets suicide bombed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. That one we've got. That is when I knew that this game was not fucking around. Because obviously you meet him and he's like, "Hey, my name's Jeff," and I'm like, "He's Jefferson Davis." And I'm like, "Here's this black cop whose name is Jeff," and I'm like, "Well, that's Miles' dad, and also you're fucking worm food." Post haste, but then
Canon event.
Suicide bombers, and not only like suicide bombers, but like mind controlled civilians that he got to strap bombs to themselves and fucking blow themselves up. That was wild. I was like, low key, they're kind of out of pocket for this, but I'm here for it. Cause I literally dropped my jaw and was like, I cannot believe that they just did that. And then he kept doing it with making these people like just shoot themselves in the head once he got the information he needed from them. Like, just crazy the lengths that they took him to.
I keep saying what a romp through New York, what a grand adventure this game is, but this game is kind of fucked.
It's really dark.
There had been some criticism of this game for its portrayal of the police and Spider-Man's relationship with
Oh, it's
Yuri.
propaganda. Totally propaganda. I mean, he's literally
Yeah.
helping them set up their fucking Patriot Act ass fucking surveillance system that he piggybacks to track crime. So it's good. I'm using big air quotes for our listeners at home. Yeah, it's 100% is propaganda. I was like, I just need to accept this and move on because that is what it is, and I'm uncomfortable with it, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm moving on.
There's sort of the question of like, do these companies have an obligation to make social commentary on like the state of the world with these games? And Miles, especially as being like a young person of color, and like his role in what we assume is probably a 1-for-1 New York City, right? Like with all of its flaws. I don't know. Part of me feels like, is it easy to go in and just assume that like, all right, the fucking fraternity that is so broken in the real world, it's just like, oh, the cops have it figured out. They hold bad cops accountable and things work in this fucking world that we're playing in right now. Is it easy to just wave your hand and pretend it doesn't exist?
Yeah.
That was quite the hot topic for a minute.
What would sell more copies?
Propaganda.
Oh, I understand why. Yeah, absolutely. It totally makes sense as to why would we touch such a volatile subject when we can just print money and make your best friend a fucking cop. But she's an Asian woman, so you can't get mad at her, right?
Yeah, I can.
Logically, you would say so, but then in their mind, like, no, we're good. We got our bases covered.
Model race right there. Perfect.
Oh
Oh boy.
yeah. Yeah,
You know
oof.
those conversations took place. You know those conversations happened.
Yeah. Voiced by a white woman.
Oh, actually,
Is she
who
really?
voices her?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Who is also Yuri Lowenthal's wife. So it's him talking to himself, who is also his wife.
The nepotism. I will say, part of what makes this game so fun to play is Yuri Lowenthal's performance and the levity he brings. I mean, that's the trait that Spider-Man brings in any of his stories, is his fucking smart mouth and the way he relates to danger and tragedy, is with humor, and it never feels inorganic or like recycled or forced. And part of that is a good script. Part of that is a great performance.
No, Lowenthal is a really, really good voice actor.
Yeah,
He's been
great.
doing it for a long time for a reason. Hard worker.
Yeah, he's excellent. The voice acting in this game, I think, is like pretty uniformly excellent. It's no God of War, it's no The Last of Us, but I think that they've raised the bar.
Lower stakes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even lower stakes games can still have really excellent vocal performance. It's not all about the drama. It's just about do you do the thing really well. And those two games, I think specifically, series have like raised the bar so like stratospherically high that it's almost unfair to like hold everything to that and not just be like, this was great. You did a really good job. And this game, the voice acting is great. No complaints about the voice acting.
Mary Jane, same actress as Abby from Last of Us Part 2.
Huh.
Yeah.
Laura Bailey in everything. So
In
obviously.
everything.
Also Samus, Metroid Prime.
Was it on air that we talked about J. Jonah Jameson?
Oh, with his freaking podcast. Like, I love that. It was a great spin out of that.
Alex Jones. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've talked about this game so much on the podcast. Chris, I'm glad that you had a great time with it because it is just so fun. And I've played Spider-Man 2018 5 times. 5 times. I platinumed it on both PS4 and PS5.
That's wild,
Okay.
man.
I just had so much fun, and going back to it was sort of the way that I relate to maybe like rereading Harry Potter or something, where it's like it's gotten to the point where it feels like I'm revisiting old friends that I haven't seen in a long time. You know,
Aw, I love that.
Not to open the Harry Potter can of worms, but yeah, I just love those characters. I love the people. I just like being with them, and I'm really excited to get back to that world next month. Chris, you have to play Miles Morales. We play that game. You have to.
I've
You
got
have to
it.
play.
And honestly, man, I'm glad we're doing like a game diary feature this week and a little bit of news and not any what we've played, because I've, other than when I've been in transit doing Luigi's Mansion, like on planes, I have maybe played 30 minutes of video games in the last 3 weeks. I've had no fucking time.
No, yeah, it's understandable.
And so, but I have Miles. It is sitting on my entertainment center so that I don't lose sight of, I need to have that beat before October. But yeah, RIP to me having time to play anything, let alone a rotation of games.
Miles Morales is way shorter, and if you're not platinuming it, I mean, it is.
Well, and Spidey was really short. I mean, that was like a 20-hour game, maybe, with me doing all the stuff that I did.
When I did my new, I think I said this before, but when I did my New Game Plus run to get my platinum on Miles Morales, I think I beat the main story in like 4.5 hours, like just mainlining it. Like it is a much shorter game, a lot fewer collectibles. I think more meaningful in a lot of places. But there's a lot of great characters. I mean, you spend a lot of time with Miles' uncle. Like, it's a great game. However, much smaller. And at the time, I mean, it sold for $20 less. It was sort of a glorified DLC in a way. So calibrate your expectations there, but it's not going to take you 20 years.
Expand alone.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That works.
Good.
That's
good.
Yeah, that's a. I did not invent the term, but
Okay,
it is a term that is like DLC that got too big for its base game to be like a standalone release. Like I think Undead Nightmare was an expand alone. Stuff of that caliber.
Yeah.
How long to beat has it at 7.5 hours for main story.
Wow.
So like 8 hours if you're plucking along.
I'll be
12 hours
grabbing
if you're trying to
stuff.
do some side quests.
I know that one of the suit rewards in that game, if you get, I think
Spider
it's
Cat?
yes, is getting the bodega cat on your shoulder, and I need that more desperately than I've ever needed any pickup in any game.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's great. I forgot to talk about how much I fucking love the costumes in this game. I had so much fun. I would change my costume at night. I would change my costume depending on what crimes I was fighting. I would dude, when all the bad guys break out of jail and they're shooting at you at the end of the game, I'm like, I got to turn on my battle-worn classic suit. You're all bloodied up and ripped up. Like I always had to have the right suit for the right moment. Chris, what's your favorite suit?
Oh, ask me to choose my favorite cat. Ask me to choose my favorite student. Just shoot
top
me in
three.
the head.
Top three.
Top three. Oh
Top
my
three.
God. Okay. Clear number one, actually. Classic comic. Clear number one for me.
The animated one?
Yes, with the dot art style. I was like, this is so fucking cool to see this laid into this 3D world. I did that as soon as I got that. I never switched that off. I also did a lot of time with the Future Foundation suit that's all white with the huge black spider. I spent time with I don't remember what it's called, but it's black with the neon green eyes and the big ass neon green spider on the front and the back. I did a little bit of the.
That's the big time suit, I think, or if it's from the big time run. I don't know if it's.
I don't remember.
That's what it's called.
But that one,
it's like the stealth suit or something.
Yeah, that might be
the green one. Yeah,
yeah. I did the dark suit for a little bit, the one that you get from getting all the Black Cat collectibles. I thought that was really cool looking
with the red spider. Oh yeah,
with the red
dude.
spider. Oh my God! But yeah, I switched between them a lot. And just had a great time. I started as soon as I got the ability to customize. I turned the Raimi suit on, the ribbed webbing, and swung around in the Raimi suit for a solid couple of hours. But then I was like, "There's just too many fucking cool suits." Like I just wanted to switch all the time, and I want to try this one. Oh, I want to try this one. And
there's a lot of very goofy suits, and I'm curious how they're gonna have the same level of customization in the next game as far as new shit.
Yeah, like the fucking boxer shorts where you one shot everything, but you get one shot also. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm bad at this game, so that's not going to work. But I love that for people who are better.
My favorite suit of all time,
Spirit Spider.
No, come on, it's fucking goddamn Ben Reilly.
Oh, Scarlet Spider.
Come on,
Scarlet Spider looks so tight.
Fucking best.
Scarlet Spider's sick. I liked the Spirit Spider, but I was like, this is too much. I like this in principle, but I don't want to see this all the time.
It's too much, man. It's too much.
The homemade suit is really cool. I'm just browsing through all the different suits.
I played a lot of time in the classic suit. I do not like the 2018 suit. I think they tried too hard to make it their own thing. I don't like the white. I don't like the gloves. They just tried too hard with it. That it looks like a shitty fan suit. Spent a lot of time in the Raimi suit. Spent a lot of time in the Tom Holland suit. Black Cat, the Anti-Ox suit in my New Game Plus, I wore a lot. I really think that suit looks awesome with the plating and the yellow spider.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
What a goddamn fun game.
Yeah, it was a fun time that did a lot of things really well. I'm so eager to see what they do even better with a little more time, what they do the same, what they do differently. But for me, always, even though it's 4 out of 4 in the review criterion, is I want to know what kind of yarn they're spinning, what kind of web they're weaving, I dare say. I just can't wait to zip through the story and swing my way through all of these excellent twists and turns before crawling to the finish.
Ceased.
Console Crusade review. What's your review score? Official.
Probably like 86. I think that enough of the side quest stuff is repetitive and annoying enough that like I didn't even finish all of the like radiant crimes, for lack of a better term, because they just fucking spawn anywhere at random points and then conversely don't fucking spawn when I need them to. It's like I have 3 more sable crimes in this district and I've been web slinging for 90 seconds to 2 minutes and none of them have spawned. This is stupid. Yeah, it's just repetitive. A lot of the side quest stuff's really repetitive. Better variety of side questing could be like an 89 for me. Solid 3 points off for that, in my opinion.
I think you're going to like Miles Morales more. I really think you will. Much more concise experience, much more meaningful, collectible side quests, everything. What did I give Zelda? Did I give an 88?
Nobody knows.
There's
no website to look this up.
I think so.
89.
I think you said 88, great game. I don't think you went to an 89.
I like Spider-Man significantly more than Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't think it crosses into the 90s. So I might have to reevaluate the Zelda score. It's irrelevant. It's a high 80s. I love the game, but I don't think it crosses into like once you get in the 9s, you're talking about masterpieces, goated territory, and I don't think Spider-Man 2018 quite falls into that objectively, right? As a package, it is a goddamn good time, but like it doesn't quite hit. So I don't know.
It's tough because it's one of those games that's not really striving to be, generational. This is what gaming is meant to be. This is peak. Like, it doesn't try to be that. It just wants to be a good-ass game. Insomniac just makes good-ass games.
Right. It's like Avengers isn't trying to win any fucking Oscars, It's just trying to be a fucking good-ass superhero movie.
Fun and engaging and enthralling. Like, it just does exactly what it wants to do.
Did you ever play the Infamous games?
I played Second Son when the PS4 came out, and I liked it.
Yeah, those are Insomniac, right?
No.
Who is that?
Sucker Punch?
Sucker Punch, yeah. They did Ghost of Tsushima. They did Sly Cooper.
What do I know Insomniac
They're up in
from,
Seattle. Insomniac does Ratchet and Clank.
Oh. Well,
Insomniac also did
Sunset Overdrive.
one of
EJ's
my
favorite Xbox game.
Actually, if we're talking exclusives, maybe.
Well, they own Bethesda now, so Skyrim is technically a Microsoft game.
Yeah. Sunset Overdrive is a game I had so much fun with. It's just it's like a I don't know.
It's like a prototype for Spider-Man.
Well,
in some
it
ways.
is, but I'm like, it's like a fucking bullet hell game, but Spider-Man movement. There's it's chaos. It's just
More
guns,
like rail grinding.
a lot of rail grinding. It's like Tony Hawk meets like I don't even know. It's a crazy game. I really like that game.
It's cel shaded. It's basically Jet Set Radio.
Actually, Chris, you might really fuck with that game. A lot less ACAB.
Not floaty enough, but
That was still a 2-hour podcast. God damn.
It was great.
we did it. We're professionals.
I'm going to have hopefully a lot to say about Starfield next week. We'll see what the week brings. Nick, you and I hung out, went to some game stores yesterday. That was nice. I got to see you in person.
We could still talk about that if you wanted to. I didn't know if it was going to come up.
Yeah. Saw each other in person. In the world.
In the flesh. In meat vision, meat space. Yeah, we hung out, went to 3 different game stores in the Portland metro area.
Generally speaking, if you get me to go into 3 decent game stores, I'm going to spend some money. I bought a couple DVDs, a couple of 4K Blu-rays. The only game I bought was a glaring omission from my NES collection, a gold cart, Legend of Zelda. That's all I got. Got it for like $29, like fine price. Couldn't believe I didn't have it. So picked that up and that was it.
Yeah, I thought the stock that they had at these 3 individual stores were fair to good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they were like lacking desperately or anything. Like, it's just that you're pretty deep into your collection. Like, you don't really have a lot of things left except for your like big grails that are more expensive. You're not really seeing them very often, and if you do, they're not going to be at a good price.
Right.
So, and I'm just getting Switch games, so a retro store isn't necessarily a lot of stock in that department.
Right.
It is not even. Yeah, a lot of the games I want to buy are still selling retail, so I can just wait for a sale.
We went to 3 very different stores. The first one was Hawthorne Game Exchange, which was very clean. It was very quaint. had good stock,
Pretty small, but stocked, right?
very well stocked. Had the charm you would expect for like a store in the Hawthorne district. Video Game Wizard, which is a store we've been into together before, back when it was at a different location. They're a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
They used to be more of a disaster.
It is like cramped.
Horrible layout. Like every aisle is completely isolated, so you have to like go back to the front of the store to get to a new aisle.
It needs a map. Honestly, it needs a map.
That is wretched.
For a space that is about as big as my bedroom.
Right, seriously. And very little inventory was actually priced. They look things up, which is whatever their prerogative, but kind of annoying.
I don't want to have to ask. I want to just like, suck it up and like do the math myself.
Well, it is nice though that like at least like if I had come in with a stack of games that were worth $400, I'm sure I could have gotten a good deal just by negotiating because they're just trying to move inventory. Nothing's priced. I remember years ago when we went in, this is like 2015, they had a whole back section behind the counter just absolutely stacked to the ceiling with game guides. And I bought so many guides, a lot of retro stuff, a lot of Super Nintendo, like from Mario RPG to Donkey Kong Country, which I think you have one of those copies now that I had gotten. And just great prices, great condition. And I'm a sucker for old game guides, an absolute mark. But I went in, they looked them up, we negotiated and got like a decent deal and shit. And so that I like that kind of store, but it was so dirty. It felt like going into like a sketchy pawn shop down on like Stark or something. It just, I don't like the vibe, The one in Gresham, Nick, what was that called?
It's Retro Shark.
Bro, I walked into that shop and boy, did it smell familiar. They definitely had magic in that shop and you knew it as soon as you walked in.
Yeah, it's got a funk.
It's got the smell.
Yeah, it is localized to the back section where all the tables are set up, but it definitely has that human odor.
Oh, God. What is it about the Magic the Gathering community, or is it exclusive to the Magic the Gathering community, that just leads to such an aversion to basic fucking human hygiene?
Really, a lot of it comes down to, it's nerd culture, it's the way you're raised, and a lot of it is different, like income levels have different social ineptitudes kind of built into it.
Yeah.
I just ain't nobody ever in their life said, this is deodorant. Use it every day. You need to shower every
honestly,
couple of days.
Yeah.
In my experience with having a teenager in my family who fucking reeks all the time and only just now at age almost 15 and starting freshman year, starting to kind of take hygiene seriously, he is told, he is forced, but there's only so much you can do. You know what I mean? And if you start forming the habits of not showering, not putting on deodorant, not brushing your teeth, wearing the same clothes every day, it becomes a habit and it's hard to break. But I got into nerd things because I didn't fit in with people growing up, right? The nerds didn't exclude you. And so I think if you are a certain way, it's easier to sort of funnel yourself into certain hobbies and certain interests and certain groups of people that will accept you, right? And that's what everyone's looking for, right? Is to belong somewhere. And so I don't think those things make people that way. I think it's just easier for people who are certain ways to fall into those groups. And then you put them all in the back corner of a game store and, well, it smells the way it smells. But I miss playing Magic, man. And I know, Nick, you never really were into it, but I liked going to Friday Night Magic or pre-release events or drafting. Like I was a sucker for that.
Yeah, I'm not like you. I didn't get into my hobbies because of the way other people, I was not enticed there by others. I just like those things. They make my brain feel good. So a lot of the time, if asked, hey, do you want to go do a thing that you enjoy with a bunch of strangers that also enjoy that thing? I do not want to engage with that. I don't want to meet the people that like the things that I do, because 9 times out of 10, I do not want to be around those people. It's the same way with like shows. I don't want to talk to people who like the same music as I do because I'm insufferable enough for the both of us. I don't want to talk to that person.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you definitely get some weirdos, but like I like the sense of community. And I mean, I like the things I like because I like them. I remember in middle school, like reading my freaking Star Wars books tucked behind, I probably said this before, but tucked behind a school book so no one knew what I was reading. Because
As you do.
Right, because I didn't want to get made fun of, but I fucking liked what I liked. But I just mean, everyone's looking for their people to some degree, and some of us are lucky that we found our people organically, and that Nick, like, we were friends from an early age, and we happened to like a lot of the same things. You know, is that happenstance? How much of an influence do we have on each other? It just worked out for us, but it doesn't always work out for the other people, and they got to find their tribe one way or another. And
yeah, it's just tough because I really do enjoy the game of Magic, and the different formats makes it really annoying. It's prohibitively expensive to try and like keep up with something like Standard, but Standard is also the most approachable because it's got the smallest card pool. Drafts are insane. I do not want to be draft brain like you. It's too much. It's a roguelike, but it's competitive. And it just hurts my mind. EDH games are awesome. It's really fun to like pilot a behemoth of a deck and like see it unfold the way you planned it out to. But also games take forever, and none of my friends live close by that actually play anymore. So it's a social game, but I don't want to play with strangers, but also I can't get my friends to play. It's just the problem of being in my 30s now.
Yeah,
honestly,
it really is.
That's really what it boils down to. Growing up sucks, and all my hobbies are for children.
Okay.
It's really
Don't
interesting
put it that way.
to hear you talk, Nick, to hear you say, like, if somebody asks me, like, oh, hey, I see that you have really liked this thing. I really like this thing. And the immediate, like,
That's a red flag.
I don't want to associate with you. That's so accurate. Like, I was walking around campus finals week in the spring semester, and I had my Gorillaz shirt on from the concert. And this random fucking guy stops me and was like, oh, Gorillaz, like, you like Gorillaz? I'm like, yeah, I just saw him for the first time. He's like, oh, I love Gorillaz. And I was just immediately like, I have to get out of this conversation. Like,
You guys are weird.
I don't,
Ripcord.
and I could not get him to shut the fuck up. He literally just kept talking. And I was like, I have to, and eventually I was like, I have to go run a final, which was technically true. I was on my way to get coffee, but like, I just have to go. He's like, oh, you want to exchange information? And we could like, we like talk about the Gorillaz. And I'm like, I really don't, but it felt like, sure, let me take your number down so that I can prevent like you from having my contact information. Obviously never sent him a fucking text message, but was just like, I don't want to know, like, if you're coming on that strong to a stranger. I think that's what it is
It's degrees.
yeah, if I see somebody with I have a Metroid tattoo, right? So if somebody came up to me and is like, dude, that's a sweet Metroid tattoo, I'd be like, oh, thanks, man. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, that's tight. I'm like, yeah, I got this one. It's like, missile ammo, and this one's energy. He's like, oh, that's sick, man. I'd be like, okay, you maybe, but somebody that's like, dude, I
You
love
like
Metroid.
Metroid? It's
You like
organic.
Metroid? I like Metroid. Do you like Metroid? I really, and I'm like, no, like the forums have not been obeyed. Like, you've broke the social construct by approaching me so brusquely. And I'm an introvert, so I'm like, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to people. When I'm hiking on the
Nick, I
trail,
told
it's
you.
eyes
Nick, I
down.
told you.
Do not acknowledge me.
But yeah, I think what it turns into is they see that you are wearing a shirt for a thing, which means that you are a fan. And fan is short for a fanatic. And they are fanatical about this, and they want to share their fanaticism, their religion with you, and they are now evangelizing to the choir. And it turns into a, like, I don't want this. It's cool to express my joy for something, but it's not cool to be like engaged with on someone else's terms.
You don't want to be accosted by a stranger. When I was in college, I was working at the college actually, and one of the kids, not even kids, I think he was fucking older than me, but he was like one of those like kind of a man-child guy, like and I was 25 and he might have been like 30 at the time. And he came in to work on something, and we were talking, and I had my shuffle on, and MF Doom came on the shuffle. Like, I had the speakers going down where I was working, and he's like, dude, you like Doom? And I was like, yeah, man, like, yeah. I think Max got me into MF Doom like forever ago, and like, I mean, I don't know hip hop, I don't know MF Doom. I have a couple albums. Yeah, you put it on, I like it.
Got him food, and you put it on shuffle sometimes.
Great.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, fun time. He's like, bro, this dude's revolutionary, bro. He pioneered the such and such rhyme scheme, and dude, on this album when he's going to stanza 4, and he goes fucking full balls to the wall, dude.
Don't.
He just went crazy about it, and like after literally like 10 minutes, I was like, bro, I ain't that serious about it. I just like him sometimes. And he like was so dejected because he just wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Balloon.
I'm trying to work. I wasn't even mean about it. I was like, he was talking about like rhyme scheme. I was like, yeah, I don't really know about all that. I just listen to him sometimes. Like, which is true. Like, I am sorry, dude. I don't know what you're talking about, but
I don't really know about all that. I love that, dude.
I love that you love him, dude.
I don't know about all that, man. Yeah, no, that's just it. It's too much. It's like you can't expose that much of your ass at first blush. Like you have to work your way into that. Like
when someone starts vomiting on you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing it with my Shakespeare students right now. That class could have been a fire hose of me just screaming about how impossibly like perfect all of this wordcraft is. It could have been that, but I was like, I'm going to lose all of you on day one if it's a fire hose. And so I've been slow dripping it so that I'm not just going Shakespeare to them, but that they're going like Shakespeare and like they're discovering it, and then we can yell together. You gotta slow walk it. You can't stanza 4. Holy shit.
I think a little bit of it comes down to the things that people get super engaged with. If it's not something that is like mass marketable, like if you have a Spider-Man shirt, no one's gonna say anything. Everyone knows who Spider-Man is. Everyone kind of likes Spider-Man. It's not like a weird thing to see someone wearing a Spider-Man shirt. You're not going to walk up to someone and say, yo, I love Spider-Man. I read it from the first episode, for the first issue. I've seen every episode of the TV shows. I love this run, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, yeah, Spider-Man, we get it. But if it's something a little bit more niche, if it's even Gorillas, like that's kind of weird that someone got like super on you about Gorillas. Like you could have just been like, yeah, I don't know. I got a Hot Topic. It's a cool shirt. I like the design. And he would have just been like, whatever, and like stumbled away. But having a Metroid tattoo, you're in trouble, man. If people see that and like you get the wrong kind of person who's like super into Metroid, you're just inviting trouble upon yourself. Same with like me and like I'm talking about the music stuff that I like. It's super niche, like weird stuff. I get it. Like it's weird. I don't want to talk about it to people who also like that stuff because they're also going to be weird.
See, it just depends because like I've had people like see my Coheed tattoos. And I'll get fucking stoked. I'm like, bro, you knew that this fucking obscure set of triangles was a Coheed and Cambria tattoo? Let's fucking talk about Coheed. Like, I get so excited about that. I've seen people with Coheed tattoos.
He's the person.
No. I saw a guy at the beach last year with a keywork, and I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be the guy to be like, dude, you got a Coheed tattoo? Check out my fucking Coheed tattoos. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be that guy, so I didn't say anything. I know he noticed mine. He didn't say anything either. That's fine. We respect each other from a distance. But like one night, okay, for example, I had the MF Doom kid. Weird. I was like, hey, bro, let's back it up. One night I walked to a bar. I was still in college. I walked to a campus bar, sat outside by the fire, drinking a beer, hanging out, listening to music, like whatever. I was by myself. And some guy, I can't remember if he asked what I was listening to or if like he saw a tattoo or maybe I was wearing a shirt. Maybe I was wearing a shirt or something. And he asked me about it. And we ended up talking for like 3 hours, just talking about music. And he was into all this like weird niche stuff that I was into, from everything from like heavy, like After the Burial to like Coheed. And then he was like a huge Run the Jewels fan. And he was like fucking telling me all about Run the Jewels. But we were just hanging out. Didn't get his number. Never saw him again. We're like, dude, I'm here all the time. We'll see each other. Yeah, totally. Never saw him again. That was a great time. We geeked out about things.
I think you're at a bar. That's different than a library.
That's true. That's true. But like if somebody is like, dude, you like Kiss? I'll be like, I fucking love Kiss. Talk to me about Kiss. Like I have a guy, I don't even say he's my buddy. I haven't seen him in fucking 15 goddamn years, but like on Twitter, we keep up with each other, and every once in a while, we'll just have a geek out about Kiss. We fucking love Kiss, and nobody loves Kiss. And Chris, if you showed up wearing a fucking Kiss t-shirt, and I'd be like, bro, you like Kiss? And you'd be like, dude, fucking The Oath, bro. Absolute fucking banger. And I'll be like, deep cuts! Let's go! And we're gonna talk about fucking Kiss. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, you want to I want to talk about things I like, but I don't want like a weird stranger to accost me. So I understand. I get it.
Dude, are we about to kiss right now?
Hey, man, if you trying to do that. Oh, man.
Look it up, dude.
Look it up. Whoa. I'm seeing Kiss in the next month. No, what month? 2 months. Again, for like the 9th time.
You loving Kiss is still the funniest thing about you, EJ.
That's the most like mainstream thing I've ever heard you like, honestly.
That's actually hilarious because people hate Kiss.
Well, they may hate them, but they're still very fucking known.
Well, they're massive. Yeah, of course. I don't just like niche things. I'd say the most niche obsession I have when it comes to music is definitely Coheed and Cambria. A bunch of 48-year-old dudes who somehow still have a career despite never having any mainstream success outside of 1 year in the early 2000s.
It was a blood red summer that year.
Hey.
Are we about to Coheed and Cambria right now?
Apollo.
You know what's funny? Like when you think about what our parents were into, and so much of it was just fucking lame and uncool, and you don't understand why your parents like the things they do. But like one or two things trickle through. You know what I mean? Kiss got through. I won't listen to Guns N' Roses. Fuck that. But Kiss, I'll listen to Kiss all day, every day. There are a lot of songs. There are some good songs. There are a lot of bad songs. There are some fucking hilarious songs that are awful that I will put on and sing all night long.
Like Love Gun?
That's a great fucking song.
All night long, nice.
That's a great fucking song. He's talking about his dick.
penis.
I send that fucking every time I see Kiss and they play Love Gun. I get the shot of Paul Stanley on a fucking circus wire flying out into the crowd, and I get the fucking shot of him, and I send it to Claire and I send it to Max. He's talking about his dick. I get lick it up from Max every time. Lick it up, dude. And he's like, fucking lick it up. Let's fucking go, dude. It brings friends together. You don't understand.
Kiss is the glue that keeps the family together.
Maybe just the glove gun lube juice is the
God.
Love Gun. He is talking about his dick. Come on.
I'm gonna old yeller this podcast right out of its misery.
That's the Console Crusade podcast. Hey, we got in and out on the Spider-Man discussion. That was like an hour 10 on the Spider-Man. That was good.
It was good.
Holy spagoli.
Weeping over here from Love Gun. Oh, boy.
So good. Let's put the X in sex, Nick. I'm muting Chris. Count me down. Yeah,
You just took the X out of sex if you mute me, baby.
Oh, I don't even know what that means. Nobody knows what it means.
It's provocative.
It's provocative.